live on Facebook.
Awesome, I'll share it. We're live, pal.
We're live. All right, timer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is Saturday morning. You know what that means. It is time to talk some wrestling. This is the Podcast Pit. I am your host, former professional wrestler, promoter of Voltage Wrestling, jack of all trades, master of what? I do not know, Mike Raddick. I am alongside my broadcast partner, Rennis, the Menace Carbaugh. How you doing, Rennis?
I'm doing well, Mike. How about yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a weird and wild week in the world of professional wrestling, specifically for us two gentlemen right here. We had a banger of a show last weekend at Sweet 710 in Hagerstown, Maryland. Voltage Wrestling teaming up with Adrenaline Wrestling to bring in a supercard like no other. We did not disappoint from top to bottom. Matches were solid, excellent. Everybody seemed to have a good time. And we had to see one for the ages in Rick Swan and Chris Lee.
Yeah, that was, I wasn't able to be there for most of it. I had a prior engagement, but I made it for that, from the footage, what I've seen, and I made it for the main event, and that main event was, you could put that on TV anywhere, you could put it on any pay-per-view, and I tell you, it was, I don't know about you, Mike, but it was probably one of the best, if not the best, live professional wrestling matches I've seen on an independent scene ever. Those guys just, some of the most athletic, acrobatic, hard-hitting matches I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Like I said at the end of it to somebody, I was like, man, if you missed this main event, shame on you.
Yeah.
It was You couldn't have asked for a better wrestling match. Probably one of the
No.
best wrestling matches I've seen live. And just to put this in perspective, not to toot our own horn here, but I've been to WrestleManias, specifically saw the Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels WrestleMania match live. I've seen, over the last over the last 5 or 6 years, going to WrestleMania, seeing some of the best matches, the year at some of those places, and I mean this held up. This held up with every one of them. It was just a solid matchup.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah. Opened the show up, Sickened, opened up the show really well with Hyena Hex. We had the Neon Ninja Facade making his Voltage Wrestling debut and his return to Hagerstown. Tore down the house with Mr. Grimm. Women's action, we had Danny Moe taking on Dina Steele. That was a banger. Just from top to bottom, just solid wrestling all around.
Yeah, it was a great card. Mike Fox, Swan vs. Slade was just epic. I mean, that match, like I said, you could put that match anywhere and it would hold up on any card, anywhere.
No, that match, like I just couldn't believe how good it was. Like we all knew it was going to be good, but that good.
It was poetry in motion.
Absolutely.
It was, and it sounds like we're gushing, and we are, because it was incredible. I believe, Micah, maybe you can correct me. Is it up on YouTube? Is that one up on YouTube?
I know that's on ACW's Facebook page.
Okay, it is on ACW's
the
Facebook
match.
page.
I mean, we could not. Like you just had to see that match.
Yeah, I mean, false finishes. I mean, hard hitting. I mean, some of those shots were devastating. Man, I'm standing in the back watching this, and I'm just doing. You could feel.
You could feel the electricity.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, great card, great match. Really happy how it turned out.
Yeah. Speaking of great cards, man. We had ourselves an announcement this week, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Man.
We're making our Waynesboro, Pennsylvania debut.
Yeah, and the Voltage Wrestling event to end all Voltage Wrestling events. It's going to be solid. Cowboy James Storm coming in for us from Lucha Underground. We got Ricky Reyes, a.k.a. Cortez Castro. We've got Beastman making his return to
recent MLW signing.
Yeah, a recent MLW signing, but man, the camp over at Riot City is going to be up in arms and ready to go. I know they've been looking for the payback for quite a bit, so yeah, we're gonna see how all this goes down. It's gonna be interesting to see it.
Sickened will be there. Mad Max Morrison's going to be there. The Way to the World, Corey Bush. But the other two people who are going to be there are first match announced, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one. These guys have chirped each other on since the first event on Twitter.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got Big Trouble Ben Bishop versus the Savage Gentleman Victor Benjamin.
Yep, and
the battle for peanut butter supremacy is about to begin.
The battle for peanut butter supremacy begins, ladies and gentlemen. Like this is going to be, man. Get ready for the curtain sellout here. This is going to be just a solid match between two upcoming wrestlers. Vic Benjamin, who really made his presence felt in the first show, and you got Ben Bishop, 7 foot tall, weighing in at 15% of a metric ton.
Right. Earthquaking, pillar shaking,
all
leader
those
of the Meat Pop
cliches.
Express.
All those cliches aside, like Ben Bishop, he is an athlete you have to see to believe how massive this guy is. Like,
I don't know if you saw did you see the picture of him from Baltimore Celeb Fest where he is slightly taller than Kaz XL, aka Big Cass? Like, that's the scope of this guy. The guy stood, he was just as tall, every bit as tall as Kevin Nash.
Oh, absolutely.
The guy is a massive athlete.
Yep, and this is a guy you're going to want to see him because I can tell you he's not going to be on the Indies too long. Like
no,
this guy,
neither of these guys. I don't think. Same with Vic. You've seen you. If you follow him on Facebook or Twitter especially, or Instagram, if you don't, I suggest you follow all these guys on Twitter and Instagram especially. Support these guys on social media. But these guys, both of them, have been working, as in the words of Ric Flair, up and down.
Yeah.
You can't. It almost seems like these guys are working someplace every single weekend. It's not going to be long before either one gets picked up by someone.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's going to happen eventually. It's going to happen eventually. It's not even a question of if, it's when.
Yeah.
I was saying the same thing last year about Beastman. Like,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first started talking about him, and stuff. But yeah, I mean, you said there's no one else doing what he does. There's no one who is like him, and to see him get picked up by MLW is fantastic. I'm really happy for the guy,
Yeah.
and I'm really happy that we at Voltage are, um, very fortunate to have the talent pool that we have and work with the guys we do.
Absolutely, we are. And it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better from here.
Right.
I mean, that's we've been very fortunate thus far just to kind of keep putting these bangers together, man. It's just been,
right. I mean,
it's
6 months
been,
and
it's been a wonderful ride, so to speak.
Yeah.
But going to Pennsylvania here, that's the first of many matches that are going to be announced. There's several marquee matchups we're going to be announcing next week. That's really going to blow the roof off the place. We're real excited to just be in the Keystone State to begin with, making our debut up there, and we hope Waynesboro turns out, shows up, supports us, and we get these shows on the road here. So to speak.
Yeah, I mean, plus I believe we're doing meet and greet with James Storm. Is that correct?
We are.
Awesome.
We're going to do a meet and greet before the show, meet and greet at intermission. Don't miss your chance to meet Cowboy James Storm in Waynesboro. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind experience, I guarantee it. However, we've got some national wrestling news to talk about this week.
Yep.
One of the big stories this week, and I just heard about this today, apparently a backstage altercation between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair
after SmackDown. So, the draft officially goes into effect on Monday. After Crown Jewel on Monday, the draft officially goes into effect. And they do these, whenever this happens, they inevitably have this stupid belt swap ceremony. Because, of course, the two champions always get swapped to the other brand.
Yeah.
So they do these stupid belt swap ceremonies, presentation, whatever you want to call them, so this one was Becky Lynch is now going to Raw, and Charlotte is now coming to SmackDown. Well, they need to switch belts.
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently, reportedly, leading up to this, it was very vague. There was nothing set in stone, and both Becky and Charlotte were not happy about this because they didn't want to come out looking weak. They didn't want to come out of this, either of their championship reigns, looking weak, which I totally agree with.
You gotta understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go out to the ring, and apparently this wasn't finalized until day of. Go out to the ring. Neither woman is really that happy. If you watch the promo, the portion back, you can tell that they're just not into it. They don't want to be there. It looks like, at least. So finally, they're hemming and hawing, and finally Becky reaches out for the belt, and Charlotte takes it and then pulls it back and then throws it on the ground. So, problem number one, now you make that belt look weak.
Yeah.
So, Sonya Deville said, you need to pick up the belt and give it to her. So, she picks up the belt, gives it to Becky, and Becky chucks her belt at her, and she drops it. So neither belt looks good because you've just dropped both belts. So they get backstage, and there is not a physical confrontation, reportedly, but there is some very loud words between both women, and I understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
They both, Mike, maybe you can correct me. You've been in the business a little bit longer than I have, but it seems like they both kind of went into business for themselves and shot a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's going to happen in these kind of segments. Like, you're going to have situations where you ad lib, so to speak. I wouldn't so much call this like going into business for themselves. I think you're already in a situation. I mean, if the reports are correct and the rumor and the innuendo is correct, I think you're in a situation here where obviously you don't want, like, neither girl wants to be there. They're kind of upset that they're there in the first place, and now, like, you're putting them in a situation that's uncomfortable, and you got to go out and do business, and you're trying to let out that aggression,
Right.
on live stage. Sometimes, oftentimes, like, people get a little overzealous, and
Yep.
things happen.
Right.
Hell, you and me have seen that firsthand at
Yep.
events.
Yeah.
People get a little overzealous, and then people get upset. It happens. It's the wrestling business. I think. I don't think you see any more of this, or there's going to be any tension. However, it is kind of noteworthy. Like, you're starting to see frustration kind of
Mhm.
pour out on the live.
Well, as they should. I mean, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but the women's, we talked about it last week. The women's division on WWE is in shambles.
Yep.
It is absolutely in shambles. Luckily, you have four very strong women in that division. You have Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and without Bailey's presence, you have Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
When Becky comes back, it's going to help. It really is. She was able, as much as people liked her, hated her, whatever, she did her job better than almost anyone on that roster.
Absolutely.
So
Now, I will say the workhorse of that roster is Bailey.
yeah, yeah.
And, like, out of all
Throughout
out
the
of all
pandemic,
girls,
she was
yeah,
the constant. It's a shame she got injured.
it really is. No, I mean, she was like one of those people they depended on, because I mean, she hasn't been very injury prone in her career.
No.
You can tell, like, she built like an athlete. Like, she's gonna last in the ring.
Right.
Like,
She works a very good style where
Yep.
there's longevity to her style and her career.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And hey, shoulder injuries happen, and I believe it was a shoulder injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Shoulder injuries happen, and they're not easy to recover from. You just kind of have to take your time, and work your way back. I mean, it couldn't happen at a worse time for her, I think, because
Right.
Live crowds are coming back, and she got injured like right before
Yeah.
they started kind of putting the live crowds back. So I mean, that is a tough roll of the dice, so to speak,
Yeah.
for somebody who's basically been helping carry that division during the pandemic.
And I told you this before the podcast. I told you I was going to talk about this. Over the last, I'd say 6 months, especially after last night, I no longer think that Charlotte Flair is a lifetime WWE girl anymore.
No,
I up until Andrade with Flair leaving, her dad leaving, Andrade going to AEW, and now this type of stuff happening. I would be, if I were WWE, I would be doing everything to make sure that she stays, because
absolutely.
Charlotte Flair could walk into that women's locker room tomorrow and be top girl.
Yeah.
She could be. I mean, she would instantly be able to. She could go through one or two opponents, but she would be she'd be thrust into the title picture immediately. And why wouldn't you? She's Charlotte Flair. She's one of the best, if not the best, women's wrestler on the planet right now.
Absolutely. And I mean, AEW, like, wherever she would land up, I would assume AEW, maybe New Japan. I could see her pulling a move to go to Japan.
If they get their women's division up and going more / better.
No, but I mean, the logical step would be for her to go to AEW.
Right.
And honestly,
that
I think that's
massive.
Yeah, that would be massive.
Massive.
Can you imagine, like, the dream matchups? I mean, her and Britt Baker.
Her and Thunder Rosa.
Yeah. Like,
I think they I seem to recall them possibly having heat on Twitter at some point. I mean, her versus Jade Cargill.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's my money match there.
Actually, you know where I would love to see her end up?
Where?
I'd love her at the NWA, man. Her versus Camille
for
the NWA Women's Champion. Money. That match would be incredible. Both of those girls are incredibly talented, incredibly strong, incredibly athletic. That match would tear the place down. It would be so good.
Oh, it sure would. It sure would. having said that, elsewhere in the world of professional wrestling, particularly Saudi Arabia, the Saudi show happened this week.
Yeah, WWE Blood Money, Blood Jewel, Crown Jewel. Sorry.
There you go. There you go. You got
There
it
it
right.
is.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, I still have an issue with these Saudi shows. I mean, um, I don't like to get political, but for these Saudi shows, it's not. I kind of equate it to, in a much lesser capacity, WCW going to North Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing that kind of drove that home for me this week was I was listening to Bobby Lashley on Busted Open Radio one morning, and he talked about how, we can't really go anywhere. We just have to kind of stay at the hotel. There's no bars. There's nothing we can really do. So we just work out at the hotel, stay at the hotel, go to the show, and then go home. It's like, that sounds a little familiar.
Yeah.
But with this the Saudi politics and everything, these are, unfortunately for WWE, they are just cash grab and money grabs.
Yeah.
And I get it, it's a business, but especially after the stuff that happened, I guess 2 years ago now at this point, with the journalists getting killed. Like, you've got people who refuse to go over there. I can't wait to one day watch the documentary about the first time they went to Saudi, or the second time, and they got stuck there. I can't wait to watch that documentary one day.
Yeah.
In like 5 or 6 years, I can't wait.
Oh, it's gonna be interesting when it happens. That's.
But
for
enough
sure.
about the politics part of it. Let's look at the card. I've got the card pulled up here. The big one that I was super happy about is Xavier Woods, King of the Ring winner, man.
Oh,
King
yeah.
Woods. That's awesome. He's been kind of lobbying for that for a while, and to see him get that is just awesome. I'm so happy.
And I gotta say, like after this, now, like we've got to consider New Day one of the greatest 3-man factions of all time.
One of the greatest tag teams of all time. I mean,
Yeah.
really, you've got 2 world champs in there, multiple tag team titles. U.S. title or Intercontinental in there, a King of the Ring winner. I mean, they are in the Mount Rushmore of tag teams now.
One of the most unique things about that group, I think, is the fact that they have never split up. There's never been this they've never bad booked them to hell with a split angle.
Right, and they've never turned on each other or anything like that. They have been split up, but they've never disbanded.
Yeah. So it's just like 3 friends that are like legitimately just like, even if they're not working together or not, it's like 3 friends like just happy for everybody's success. I think. Hey, I mean it's a fresh look into it's a fresh new day for professional wrestling, so to speak. Not to no pun intended there, but
tell you the best match on that card was the Edge versus Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match. That was an incredible match.
Absolutely. I want to go to the chat here. Tony Lowe had mentioned when we were talking about Charlotte Flair that she could do some AAA stuff.
Yeah.
And I totally see that happening.
Yep.
Totally see that happening. Brian Carball chimed in. He's like, "Hey, I injured my shoulder in high school. 40 years later, it still isn't right. Drinking. Nice. Oh man. Oh, and Tony Lowe with the 3 missed references comment there. That was pretty good.
But we also have the winner of the Queen's Crown tournament was Zelina Vega versus Doudrop. Zelina Vega should have won hands down. They booked her to win that. As much as I don't like the guy, I gotta give credit where credit is due. The Goldberg versus Lashley match, while I didn't agree with the ending, was actually not bad.
Oh, it wasn't terrible. That was probably Goldberg's best match in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had the Becky Lynch, Sasha, Bianca Belair match, which was chef's kiss. Well, I mean, it was so good. But like once again, you've got three incredible women in that picture. you got Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Okay, my one complaint with this match: when are we going to get the custody of? I want a custody of Brock Lesnar match so bad, or a custody of Paul Heyman match
Paul.
so bad. Paul Heyman on a pole match, a Money in the Bank match where the winner gets Paul Heyman. I don't care. I want Paul Heyman to be the stipulation between these two.
Yeah. So
Actually, that's not my only complaint with the match.
I feel in my heart of hearts here, I feel like he's going to eventually go along with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. The old so, and this is my biggest problem with this match was that there was interference, there was a run in, there was someone using Reigns using the belt. I'm like, come on! I'm so tired. WWE has this affinity with these false finish, interference, DQ, not DQ matches, man. Especially when it comes to Roman Reigns, you can almost 9 times out of 10, a Roman Reigns match is going to end for some weird reason. You had it at the pay-per-view, the last pay-per-view. The ring ropes broke and caused the demon to lose. Now you see the Usos. The Usos are almost always guaranteed to show up and hit someone. It's like, okay, we get it.
I think the one thing
it's starting to cheapen him as a champion, in my opinion.
The one thing unbelievable about that is we've seen Brock Lesnar walk in and freaking wreck people before. Right. Oh man, did that last comment by Brian?
Yeah,
I wonder if I came with a handshake.
Yeah.
Wonder if I came with a handshake. Yeah, if you got the handshake afterwards, it's okay. We got Josh Hardinger in the chat here. AEW is totally taking over professional wrestling. Yes, they're taking the world by storm. I won't say take over quite yet because they still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Despite I know we're a little biased towards AEW on this podcast, but yeah, there's still a long way to go for them to kind of establish themselves as top dog. They're getting there though. They're getting.
Yeah, I mean they in the demo, they beat SmackDown last week in their demo. They didn't win by rating by number of viewers in that 30-minute overlap, but they did beat them in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic, which was a huge win for AEW in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
It tells you who's watching that product and who the WWE is losing their product.
And I know there's a lot of people online that say, "Hey, what is the deal with the demo? Why do you guys care about the demo?" And I say this: that 18 to 49 demographic usually sways where the collective whole is going to go, and here's why. That 18 to 49 demographic is usually the people that are either have a bunch of disposable income or are running their household.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are making all the financial decisions. So that is a demographic you want to cater to because that's the demographic that has the money. Now with WWE, you're getting a demographic. You're getting some of the younger kids watching it, and that's an important demographic. But that demographic, I know the thought process for a lot of people is that, oh well, hey, kids want something and the parents get it, but ultimately it's the parents' decision to make those purchases. That's why that 18 to 49 demographic is a little bit more important than the under 18 demographic or even the 50 plus demographic, because at that point, time has passed to buy live events and products. They're already set on what they're going to buy.
Right.
This is why that 18 to 49 demographic is so important in the world of wrestling.
Important. Yep. Yeah. Back to I'm going to talk about Roman Reigns a little bit. I don't dislike Roman Reigns. I think this is some of the best work he has done. I think this was always what he should have always been. I'll be honest. I think it's closer to who he maybe is as a person, or at least how he sometimes thinks. I do start to wonder at what point, and I brought it up earlier. At what point do these interference finishes or these wacky finishes start to cheapen him as a champion.
Yeah.
Um, it hasn't started yet, but if they are not careful, it will not be long before people start. Well, he never wins clean. Is
Well,
he
yeah.
really
I
a
mean,
good? You know
I
what I
think
mean?
I think that's a process that you actually want
Sure.
out of that. You want that because eventually, it's going to come up. Hey, somebody's going to have his number one day, even with the interferences. Somebody's going to pull his
Mhm.
card one day. Um,
Let's
yeah,
book that. Who do you think that is, Mike?
yeah. That's a good question. I don't know who that's going to be. I mean,
I don't either.
it almost has to be Brock Lesnar at this point.
Yeah,
It almost has to be.
I don't know who else it could be unless they bring someone back in the fold. But I don't.
Yeah.
They've booked him so strong.
I mean, the only other person I would say, The Rock.
That's so I could imagine The Rock beating, but the problem is that's not going to happen at this WrestleMania. So
No.
that's another year and a half. I mean, could we see Roman Reigns' reign, for lack of a better term, go another year and a half? Maybe.
Without new stars, I don't see how. However, hey, they've manufactured stars before, so
Right.
there's a number of people that they could build up within that period of time to be viable challenges
Right.
for the Universal Championship. But I don't think WWE is going to have a problem doing that. It's just when does it kind of get stale? Like when you're kind of
Right.
seeing the same thing over and over again. I mean, this has been a pretty like all due like with all the respect in the world, I'm saying this. This has been a pretty long title reign for Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah. I mean, what has it been, a year and a half at this point?
Let me check how long. See, I'm on my computer. So I
Yeah.
can look up this stuff. How long is Roman Reigns Universal Champion? Here we go.
I mean, it's
He's
had to
not-
have been a year and a half.
Yeah, when did he pick it up? Universal. He's not the Universal Champion. He is the.
Yeah.
He's not the Universal Champion. He's the WWE.
Yeah.
I hate that. I hate it. Roman Reigns, as of a day ago, 418 days. I mean,
Wow.
a year and some change, man. A year
Yeah. So
and
I
a
mean, this has
third.
been a pretty long time.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mean at that point, if it would if it would. So this article says it could beat Brock Lesnar's longest running Universal Championship reign.
Yeah.
At the, I don't know if one that's going to happen, and if it does, maybe it will go a full. Because if it's going to be The Rock versus Roman Reigns, which I think would be storyline, I think it would be great. Someone finally in the family gets tired of the head of the table crap because he's not the head of the table. The Rock is. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Out of that family, the Rock is the biggest star in that family. If they're waiting to do that, that's going to be like a 3-year reign, which we haven't seen something like that in a very long time.
No, we haven't seen that in a long time. Brian Carwell, how long did Bruno hold the strap before Billy Graham beat him? Long. I know that was over. I mean, that was a couple of thousand days at that point. It was, I think that first one was like 11 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
That's off the top of my head, guys. Correct
Brian
me if I'm wrong
Carvall
here.
says, if you say the Usos cheapen Reigns, then you must also say the Four Horsemen cheapen Flair. Disagree.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very different. The Four Horsemen were almost equals in a way. Flair was above them, obviously, because he's
Yeah.
Flair.
But no, like the Four Horsemen, they were about going out winning every championship that they could find. It was like a
Right.
it's like a measure of excellence. This is more of a situation where the family is there to protect him. Which, I mean, you could say the same thing for Flair,
Right.
but
Sure.
they also have their own championship aspirations as well.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you. There's going to come a time like that title reign's going to have to come to a close
Yes.
for a bit, even if it's like hot shotted. Like
Right.
the hot shot title reign will happen at some point,
Mhm.
where somebody gives the belt for a month and then it goes back to them
Right.
to kind of basically kind of put a dent in his armor, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately think Brock Lesnar is going to be the guy to beat him.
I think at this point it has to be. I don't know if there's anyone else. I don't think there's anyone else who right now.
That man is like Brock Lesnar is like Thanos, man. He's inevitable. Like
right,
you know it's going. You know it's happening.
Yeah, it has to be Brock Lesnar at this point.
Well, that's if Junior Dos Santos doesn't get him outside of the club he was talking about throwing.
That's true. Yeah.
Man, like those comments this week. I could throw. They're just little brothers. I could throw everybody out of the club. Yeah.
Yeah. While you've got people like Junior Dos Santos, one of the most decorated MMA fighters of all time.
Yeah.
In the ring, it's like, I hate to break it to you, Roman, but you may be big and strong and a fighter, but Junior Dos Santos is an actual MMA champion.
Dude, I love when former football players run their mouth like that. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's always comical.
Yeah.
It's always comical. They run their mouth like that, and then they get shut up real quick. I think his comments were more directed at CM Punk this week.
Yeah,
because
100%.
there was the CM Punk has lost a step. Yeah. So, dude, guy's like 40 years old. He's not going to be wrestling like CM Punk in 2013 or 2014.
Right. Yeah, of course not.
I don't think. I don't think anybody's going to step up there. Tony Lowe in the chat here. They haven't developed anyone to step up to the plate yet. Yes, right. I do agree with Tony Lowe on that one.
Yeah. They've worked themselves into a corner. And I actually liken it a lot to the UFC. The UFC over the last couple of years has had a lack of major, I would call major stars. I'm not saying people who can't fight.
Yeah.
The champions right now are the champions for a reason.
No,
they're some of the best fighters in the world, but they don't have there's Conor McGregor's, there's Chael Sonnen's, there's Ronda Rousey's anymore. They don't have any of that.
Yeah,
so
they failed to build their closest guy is Colby Covington right now.
Colby Covington, and I tell you, the guy who's going to come up and could be that is Paddy the Baddy Pimbleton.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched that guy, he could be the next. He could be the next type of Conor Chael guy, dude. I mean, he is. Guy doesn't look like he should be in a ring, but man, when he got in there, he whooped up on that guy, and he can talk. So he has that personality. He exudes that charisma, that showmanship that Dana White doesn't always like for whatever reason, because that always gets him money. WWE's the same way. They have these stars, but they don't have anyone to push, or they don't want to put the machine behind anyone else.
Oh yeah, that's because you got a generation of like 50 and 60-year-olds trying to decide, what this new generation of wrestling fans is going to like, and I hate to tell you, it's not. You can't go backwards now.
No,
you can go backwards like as far as the structure of a storyline or something like that, or maybe like the idea of a character, but you've got to present that in a contemporary format, and a lot of the times they don't. Like and I mean that. Like I really think that that's AEW is not up to their level yet. I don't think.
No.
As far as ratings, but I think that's why a lot of people have jumped, because their product speaks to a younger generation, and at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get new fans. Tony Lowe gives Cesaro the belt.
Yeah, I was about to get ready there. I love Cesaro. For whatever reason, Vince doesn't. Vince is missing it. That guy can have everything.
That guy's the Bruno Sammartino of this generation. He can make.
Yeah.
He can make loads of money. Brian Carball, the Steiner kid, looks like.
Yep, Braun Breaker is a former champion. I think he wins that NXT title from Tommaso Ciampa coming up.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I don't see Tommaso Ciampa. I don't see Johnny Gargano. I don't see Kyle O'Reilly in NXT.
No.
Much longer.
Speaking of NXT.
Yeah, you were talking about this. I hadn't heard this.
Yeah, so I heard the story earlier this week. So for those of you who watched NXT Tuesday, you might have noticed MSK getting booed all the way out to the ring. Now, I don't know much about this act. Don't know much about it, but I do know there's been some chirping, and a lot of the I know some of the indie wrestlers have seen this happen before on shows where some personal drama goes down and it kind of leaks out. But apparently, the NXT fans booed the crap out of MSK over a situation involving, if you guys remember, the superfan Izzy, the Bailey superfan. Apparently, at 13 years old, she started to train to wrestle, and started to train with somebody who has a bit of a history of I don't want to get into it, but there's been like some kind of allegations, like some sexual allegations against them. So this girl's training at 13 with them, mind you. MSK had made some public statements saying that, hey, they don't agree with somebody training at 13, which I hate to say, I kind of agree with because, at 13, your body's not matured or developed to kind of handle the rigors of like taking bumps in a wrestling ring. There are exceptions, obviously. I don't think this is one of them. However, this superfan Izzy and her parents basically kind of created a mutiny in the NXT audience to have these guys booed out of the building. I'm going to say this. I've seen this happen in indies before. I know, Rennis, you have as well. It's a level of toxic fandom that you don't see often, but when you do, it's crossing the line. Am I right here?
Yeah, there's and I told you this before the show, with the advent of the internet and the kind of the internet is the greatest and worst thing to happen to wrestling ever. Especially independent wrestling, because the fans now think because they have a voice online that they have the power at the event. There is a line there. There is. You boo for who you want. You cheer for who you want. You heckle them. Do whatever. But you have to realize the guys coming out of that curtain are not always the real people.
No.
That is a gimmick. That is a character. That is a part they are playing. And for you to not agree with their personal beliefs and stuff and bring it into that, it doesn't set well with me.
Yeah. I'll add to this too, but like when you're talking about the in-ring, like I'm a person, and you've heard me say this before, I believe that fans can boo, cheer, they paid their ticket, they can do what they want.
Yeah.
I wholeheartly agree with that. To a point, if I'm saying this as, how should I say, from a fan standpoint, or from a standpoint of what's going on in front of you. Like, if you don't like the guy because you don't think the guy can work, and the guy's a babyface, and you want to boo him, yeah, that's totally acceptable to do.
Right.
You might be wrong. That's totally acceptable to do. You paid your money, you paid your ticket. You want to heckle somebody, that's fine, for something they're doing on the show. However, when you think what I do not agree with is when a fan thinks he has the power to, like, it happens in a lot of smaller wrestling communities, when they think they have the power to basically tear somebody down and get somebody out the door, or campaign against somebody because they don't like a personal message that they said. Now, this is also, like, I also say this in a point, I'm not talking about somebody's like committed a crime or something.
Right.
That's totally different. Totally understand that. However,
these guys just have an opinion on when you shouldn't be able to train.
Yeah. Like, I know a lot of political statements these days. Like, I know some people make them and they speak out of tone. Like, there's some people that make some really bad political, and like, to an extent, that's okay too. If you want to boo them for that. However, when you're just taking, like, the comments that I heard were basically out of concern, and it was turned into, hey, this person's trying to like cut me down. We should get rid of him, and kind of remove him from the herd, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It,
It shouldn't be that way.
no, no, it should never be that way. It should never be that way. And look, I think ultimately they will bounce back because the power of WWE television and the power of hard work, especially.
Right.
I mean, even down at NXT at a smaller level with smaller crowds, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
However, like that should be I think that should be addressed and taken care of because I really do think that's crossing the line as a fan.
Hmm.
So,
I agree. Yeah.
um, but man, I know we got some indie events this week. I want to kind of end it off on that.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got coming up here. And no, we may have one today,
Is that?
maybe. I know we have some local events around here. I know we do.
Looking them up right now. I'm sure if you don't follow him, Phil Stamper always
Yes.
puts up. He has a calendar.
Yes, Phil Stanford puts
Essentially.
up, an entire calendar of like every indie event across the country. Um, that man, I don't know how he pulls it off, but man, he is dedicated to getting the word about independent wrestling out
Yes,
there.
there is one today. There is one today. It is WDWA Saturday, October 23rd at Custom Creations, Winchester Avenue, Martinsburg. It is the World Domination Wrestling Alliance.
Yep.
They have the Halloween Bash Ladies Tournament. It looks Scarlett, Kenzie James, Katie Meyer, Danny DeVille, the Unwilting Tatiana, La Fantasia, Ronnie Flores. It looks like you also got favorites like Jacob Edwin. You've got Robbie Page on there. It looks like it's going to be a good show, guys. If you don't have anything to do this evening, bell time is at 6 o'clock. Doors open at 5. They always put on a good show down there in WDWA.
Yeah. Yeah, nice little arena space that they have down there, and great talent coming in and out of the door. Go down there if you have the time this evening. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. I believe. Go on down there, check them out, and tell them Wrestling Supercharged sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like Tony Lowe going to the chat on another local note. Nice to see Justin Uberstud on SmackDown. I missed that. I didn't get to watch.
No, I
SmackDown.
didn't catch that. Yeah, I did not watch SmackDown this week, but if he was on there, yeah, that is pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Justin Uberstud. I miss that guy. Now, you remember that tag team he had with Brandon Scott, the Killer Studs?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they were.
Brian Carball saying, "I'm waiting to see Anthony Odyssey in the ring."
Yeah. Yeah. You get your golf clubs out there, Tony Lowe.
Yep.
You need to get your golf clubs out there. We got to make it happen again.
One of my favorite.
Get
games.
Anthony Odyssey and Barry Hole-in-One Darso. We can
tag team them against
Yeah.
the faculty.
Oh yeah, why not?
What a match.
Yeah. that would be wonderful. Oh man. But ladies and gentlemen, that about does it for us this week. I do want to end the show once again. Voltage Wrestling making our Waynesboro, Pennsylvania debut Saturday, November 13th over at the Rousersville Community Center in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. Already booked for this event. James Storm from Impact Wrestling, Cortez Castro, aka Ricky Reyes from Lucha Underground. We've got Beastman from MLW, accompanied by the ring by Captain Decapitate. I know Hyena Hex is going to be there. Mr. Grimm is going to be there.
Is he? Awesome.
Yes. We've got the Savage Gentleman, Victor Benjamin, as seen on Barstool Sports, the 6'12", 15% weighing in at 15% of a metric ton, the leader of the Meat Pop Express, Big Trouble Ben Bishop. He's going to be there at this event. We have got a stacked card. The weight of the world, Corey Bush, is in action on this event. It is stacked as ever, and of course, last but certainly not least, it is the Voltage Wrestling Grand Champion, Sicken. He will be in action. We've been getting
Also, Mad Max Morrison.
Mad Max Morrison is going to be there, and we've been getting this. I wanted to bring back the Grand Champion here for a second because we've been getting some interesting requests for title shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple of former champions that were around the area who wrestled quite a few times around the area here that are, we'll just say the last champion of a company decided to hit us up and put his name in the hat for a title shot against Sickened. And,
fielding all offers. But the thing is, here at Voltage, we've said it before, Mike, I'll say it again. At Voltage, you do not just get a title shot. You must earn your title shot. It is a grand championship. I mean, there's no weight class to that thing. It is purely who is the champion in Voltage Wrestling.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. You got to earn a title shot. However, I will say there are a couple of exceptions to this rule, and I will say a former champion from a company coming in, or maybe the last champion of a company coming in, may warrant a title shot from Sicken. I mean, Sicken can also put the title on the line himself.
Right.
However, yeah, you never know what's going to happen. You never know. But yeah, there's going to be some interesting developments.
Brian Carball, it's not who you think it is. It is not who you think it is.
No, it's not. It's not.
No.
No, I'll just say this: this man was a former competitor for Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Former competitor for Ring of Honor that's been hitting us up, and yeah, as soon as he found out Sicken was the champion down here, he's a huge fan of Sicken. I'll say that he's a huge fan of Sicken. However, he wants to throw his hat in the ring for the championship. So. You might see an epic matchup here. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But, ladies and gentlemen, for myself and Rennis Carball, this is Wrestling Supercharged. We will see you next week. Same podcast time, same podcast channel. We are out.